book of John, and we're going to continue. And where we left off 2 weeks ago, the Sanhedrin, which is the religious leaders of Jerusalem over the Jews, the Pharisees had given orders that anyone that saw Jesus was to arrest him. They were plotting to kill Jesus. So we pick it up in chapter 12 here. And it's kind of interesting. The first sentence in chapter 12 gives us a time frame. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany. Now this wasn't just any Passover. This was the Passover where Jesus would be crucified. So this is 1 week before Jesus' death. So Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus lived, and if you remember, Lazarus was raised from the dead just recently by Jesus. So they're going to have a dinner party. And like I asked the kids, has anybody ever been to a dinner party? They have some boring things sometimes, aren't they? Well, I'm going to throw some interesting twists on this dinner party. In this dinner party, we're at the house of Simon the leper. Why would you go to the house of a leper? In this day and age, there was only one way to be killed. There was only one way to be cured of leprosy. Anyone know what that was? A miracle from God. That is the only way you got cured of leprosy. So, either this was before he got leprosy, or maybe this was after Jesus cured him of leprosy. I tend to choose the latter. And this dinner party was in honor of Jesus. So, in my mind, that makes me think that this dinner party was being thrown as a thank you for the gift of being cured. So at this dinner party, you got Lazarus as well. This dude was dead. And Jesus brought him back. Then you got the co-creator of the world. You got Jesus. I don't know about you, but I can't top that. Them three could sit there and take the microphone and just pass it between each other. Because I ain't got nothing to say that could even match anything that them three's got to say. So, they're reclining at the table. And like I told the kids, in this day, they didn't have a table and chairs, and they didn't sit there with a knife and fork and eat like we do. The custom was the men would kind of lounge there on their side, their feet propped behind them, and the women would serve. And I'll say here in just a minute that Martha served. And I'm kind of thinking that Martha's probably happy about this. It was just the men eating, but the women were all serving, which was the custom. And Martha, her brother was dead. So, and he was brought back to life. So, Martha's pretty thankful about this point, isn't she? So Martha's serving, and she's probably doing something like, you know what? This is the best chicken breast right here. This one's. I'm taking this one to Jesus here, and she's throwing it down in front of him, and he's probably kind of humble because that's the way Jesus was. And where's Mary? Where's the sister Mary? Mary's kind of the free-spirited of the two sisters. we all have that one person in the family that's got that free spirit, kind of does whatever she wants to do or he wants to do. Or in our family, it was the hippie of the family. You know, didn't wear shoes, wore sandals, you know, flowers in the just, you know what I'm talking about. And you know, there's always, when you go into a church, there's always that one person that is a lot of you, when the first words of the first keys are banging on that piano or strumming with a guitar, they're the ones up in the aisle. And some of us that are a little more reserved, and I'm in that more reserved, I'm saying it takes me a little while to kind of get up and get going. And don't some of us feel a little inferior to some of those people in church? Sometimes. I do. We kind of feel like we're just, maybe I'm not as worthy as they are because they're more excited than I am. Well, guess what? I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't. Because my God loves you just as much as he loves me or you or anybody else in here. It doesn't matter how you show your affection. But anyway, Jesus is sitting there, and this has got to be one strange dinner party. Because I've been to a lot of dinner parties, and I've never seen some of the stuff that's about to go on here happen. So here comes Mary, and in this time, the women had to wear their hair up because, and it's still this way in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, where women's hair was not to be shown. That was, the locks of hair on a woman was only to be seen by their husbands. That was a sacred thing, and it still is in a lot of cultures today. And Mary's a good Jewish woman, and she's got her hair up. But here's Jesus, and Jesus has just told them he's not going to be here very long. He predicted his own death. Nobody got that. Mary did. She understood exactly what Jesus was saying. So she goes and she gets a bottle of perfume, 16 ounces of perfume, really, really expensive perfume, made out of lard, which comes from Indonesia or China. They're in Jerusalem, so what's it take to get it there? And it's in a glass bottle. So this stuff's really, really expensive. This could have been her dowry, her life savings of her family. Because, you know, back then they would use perfume because it was a small item that was easily transferable between people. It was an item of value. And it was even put a price on it by Judas. Judas looks down, he sees this bottle of perfume, and Mary's pouring it on Jesus' feet. And Judas goes, "Whoa! What are you doing, woman? That perfume right there, why wasn't it sold for 300 denarii? That's a year's labor for a common laborer. A year." Now this was 16 ounces. Everybody knows how much 16 ounces is, right? I'm going to give you something that everybody knows for show you what 16 ounces is. All y'all that go out on Friday and Saturday night. There's 16 ounces right there. Now, Judas, if you look, Judas didn't care about taking care of the poor or giving to the needy. Judas was in charge of the money box, and guess what? Judas was a thief. He wanted the money. He was greedy. Which is, that's another matter, because I have a hard time wrapping my head around. Judas is a thief. He's going to later betray Jesus. Jesus knows this. He knows all that black that's in Judas's heart. Why does he keep him around? The only reason I can guess is grace. Because that is not someone I would want in my house. I don't want him in my camp. So anyway, Mary takes this expensive perfumed oil. She pours it on Jesus' feet, and she lets her hair down. Now, I just mentioned a woman's hair was a sacred thing, the flowing locks of hair, and we know it was long because the women didn't cut their hair. So we know she had long hair, and she is washing Jesus' feet, not with the garment she was using to hold her hair up, but with her hair. She's using her hair. Now, that shows a lot of humility. Because think about it, there was no cars back then, the streets weren't paved. How dirty and grimy were these people's feet after walking around in the dust? A lot of desert land around there, and sandy. How gnarly were these feet? How stinky. And in fact, it was such a, only the lowest slave would be the one to wash the feet. That was just beneath them, and it was even a law that, they couldn't have their house slaves were not allowed to wash the feet because it was such a demeaning job. So here Mary is, she takes and she comes into the dinner party, lets her hair down, pours out the most expensive perfume she's got, a year's salary's worth, lets her hair down and washes Jesus' feet. And some of the other accounts that I read, mixes it with her tears. What kind of love is that? How much love would it take? Here's the thought. How much would you have to care for somebody to spend a year's salary on someone else? What's the average salary now? $35,000, $40,000? Pretty nice car. And I'm thinking the wives right now you guys are probably hitting on your husband saying, hey, your salary, why don't you spend that on me? Show me how much you care. I can see Elizabeth hitting him now. Your salary, buddy. How much would you have to care for somebody to give that kind of sacrifice in your salary? A lot. And then to embarrass yourself, to bring yourself down to wash someone's feet and expose your hair as a woman in this day. How much would that take? How much did she love Jesus? That makes me want to love Jesus that much. I want to wash with my hair. Well, if I had hair. I ain't got much up here. So I'm thinking this is a pretty insane dinner party. So Mary does this, and what are the other dinner guests doing? They're starting to call her names. They're, hey, hoochie mama, what are you doing? They've got some really bad names for Mary at this point. So Jesus says, leave her alone. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have poor among you, but you will not always have me. So, in the meantime, everybody in town has heard that Lazarus and Jesus and Simon are all having this dinner party, and I'm guessing there's some other pretty elite people in the town of Bethany there. What do you think's happening outside? Here comes the crowds. They're all coming in. Now keep in mind, the Sanhedrin's still looking for Jesus. They're saying, hey, if anybody sees him, arrest him and bring him to us. So the next day that a great crowd had come to the festival, heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. And this is what's known as the triumphal entrance. And I believe I did a sermon on Palm Sunday on this. From I think I used another text or another book of the gospel. But the people, they heard that Jesus was going to go to Jerusalem. So they all threw down these palm branches. And Jesus, he told them, he said, now Jesus is smart. He's thinking, I got to fulfill the prophecy. So he has them go get this young donkey that never been broken. And he rides on into Jerusalem on this donkey. And they're throwing the palm branches down in front of them. And like I said several weeks ago when I did Palm Sunday, this has got to be the luckiest donkey on the face of the earth. Because we're going into probably the 1 week in history that most affected all of our lives. This was the most important week in history right here. Like I told the kids earlier this morning, 1 through 11 in John covers 3.5 years of Jesus' life. 12 through 22 covers the last week. In my mind, that's pretty important. What do y'all think? And the other Gospels, that's almost 50% of this book. And it reigns true with the other Gospels as well. So, Jesus rides on in, and the Pharisees see him, and they're looking, and they're saying, all the world is following him. We got to do something about this. He's coming in on this donkey. Everybody's throwing palm branches down like he's the king. And I know that donkey, I can just hear Eddie Murphy's voice. And he's singing, it's so good to be the king. Here come the king. Y'all do know the movie I'm referring to with Shrek, where Eddie Murphy was the donkey? So, Jesus goes and he talks to the crowds in Jerusalem. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. And then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it and will glorify it again. The crowd that was there and heard it said it was thunder. Others said it was an angel had spoken to him. So Jesus says, this voice was for your benefit, not mine. Now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of this world will be driven out, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. So this is really a lot going on here. Could you imagine standing there in the crowd and the voice coming from the heavens? You can almost hear James Earl Jones up there. I have glorified you. Can you hear that in your mind? Can you picture it? By the way, as I have been doing, there is a movie script for each part of John that I've been watching these and getting ideas from. In case you want to watch them, you'll see a lot of what I'm saying here. So, what is he really saying here? If you're gonna follow me, follow me. And there's a lot of this. There's a lot of believers that they want to say, well, is he really saying this? Maybe I believe it when it benefits me. I think what he's saying here is, hey, you need to be all in. You need to have, and don't listen to me. Listen to Jesus. Listen to what he says for himself. If you go to Matthew 16, you don't have to go there, I'll go there for you. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with the angels, and then will reward each person according to what they have done. That's pretty powerful stuff right there. Now, think about this in terms of the time. You're going to pick up and you're going to take on the cross yourself. Now remember, not only was Jesus crucified, he had to carry his own cross to the crucifixion. All the while they're beating him, they're whipping him, they're spitting on him, he's carrying that cross. And you've seen people carry crosses, and I've seen a lot of them, they put wheels on the back. Jesus didn't have no wheel back there. Although Jesus could take the wheel, he didn't have no wheel on his cross. Jesus bore the entire weight. He did have help along the way, but Jesus bore the weight of that cross. Are you willing to take your own cross and carry it? Anybody want to carry a cross? Hand it over to Jesus. He's already carried it for us, hasn't he? So, Jesus, he goes and he says all this, and then he goes into hiding. And I want to think that he's not really hiding. He's in preparation. He says, you're going to have the light just a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, before darkness overtakes you. Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they are going. And I know that for sure because I got up in the middle of the night last night, and Angel left one of her little Paw Patrol toys in the hallway, and I stepped on that thing, and I'm going to tell you, I think I saw a light after that because it hurt. So, anyway, believe in the light while you have the light, so that you may become children of light. When he finished speaking, Jesus left and hid himself from them. So now this is where the Sanhedrin, they heard this, they're in turmoil. Because guess what? Some of them are starting to believe. Some of them have turned, and the leaders that are devout, now we got to do something about this Jesus. He's raised people from the dead. He's healing lepers. He's making the blind see. We need to kill him because we're losing power. This cat is taking over. So at this point, these guys, they're plotting. Isaiah said that he saw Jesus' glory and spoke about him. Yet at the same time, many, even among the leaders, believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they would not openly acknowledge their faith for fear. They would be put out of the synagogue. Now, being put out of the synagogue for the Jewish in this day, that was like putting them out to die because that was their support system. They'd have nothing. They'd be stripped of all their title. They wouldn't have no money. They'd probably have trouble finding something to eat. And that's a bad thing. These guys were openly scared. And Jesus cried out, "Whoever believes in me does not believe in me only, but in the one who sent me. The one who looks at me is seeing the one who sent me. I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. If anyone hears my words but does not keep them, I do not judge that person. For I do not come to judge the world, but to save the world. There is a judge for the one who rejects me and does not accept my words. The very words I have spoken will condemn them at the last day. For I did not speak on my own, but the Father who sent me commanded me to say that all that I have spoken. I know that his command leads to eternal life. So whatever I say is just what the Father has told me to say." Now, who's he talking about that's going to condemn them? Any ideas? I'm giving you a good clue. So, there's a couple of good lessons in chapter 12. There's a lot going on, and probably too much for the one sermon that I put together here. You start out at a dinner party. What a strange dinner party it was. You got a man that's healed from leprosy, a man that's raised from the dead, co-creator of the world. You've got the sister of the man raised from the dead that's crying and pours out the most expensive bottle of perfume she's got. She's washing his feet with her hair. I don't know about y'all, but I want to see this dinner party. That'd make a good play, wouldn't it? You can't make this stuff up. And then Jesus jumps on a donkey and rides into town And the people are so happy and thrilled to see that it's kind of like when the president rolls into town, they bring out all the red ticket fanfare. But even more so, because their land, is almost like the queen where they throw the princess, they throw the rose petals down. They're throwing the palm leaves down so that his feet don't have to touch the dirt. So his feet stay clean. So, up to this point, we've got a lesson in humility, in pride, prejudice, love, hate. "16 ounces. Not a lot, is it? At least it's not at a party, is it? That thing goes empty pretty quickly. Could you imagine a year's salary in that right there? What could you do with a year's salary? How much would it take from you to put that much effort into caring for someone else? I would want someone to care for me that much. I really would. So as we go on, next week we'll go into chapter 13. And it's really going to start getting down and dirty for Jesus. He's going to prepare for that last week. And Jesus has given an open invitation, just as I'm about to give an open invitation to anyone to just listen to him. Listen to his words. All you have to do is accept him. Take him into your heart. And I'm not saying put a little Jewish guy into your shirt pocket. I'm saying really accept him and take his love into your heart. If you want to do that this morning, the altar is open. Scott and I will be happy to help you on that journey. And I believe Scott has a hymn of invitation to sing while we do that.
If you would rise, turn to 530. Are you able to sing the first and last verse? 530.
just remember everybody we have, do have the cake in the back. Lord, thank you once again for allowing us to come together and just worship in your name. Give us that love that only you can give, and help us to love you in the same way that Mary and Martha and Lazarus was able to do so. Let us just give freely and be able to give as much of ourselves as Mary was. Take us into the world this week and just protect us and just keep us in your arms, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Come on back and eat cake.